Hello, I'm Tom Edelman, Deputy Director of Finance in the Office of Management and Budget. The purpose of this presentation is to help explain how projects in a capital spending plan, often referred to as a CSP, ultimately result in debt service payments from Metro's operating budget. I will spend the next few minutes discussing what a capital spending plan is, how projects within the plan are initially financed, the long-term financing of those projects, and the annual debt service payments required. When you hear that a capital spending plan is being proposed by the mayor for consideration of the council, a first question may be, what are the projects? A capital spending plan is the identification of projects that have been selected to be funded and move forward. The projects are selected from a capital planning document called the Capital Improvements Budget, or CIB. The CIB represents a long-range planning process that identifies potential capital projects needed across Metro. The CIB is managed by the Planning Department and updated annually by the resolution of the Metro Council. Projects selected for inclusion in a capital spending plan must be on the CIB. Each capital spending plan cycle includes an evaluation of projects that are priorities of the mayor and council, with a final spending plan resolution adopted by the council. Capital spending plan resolutions also have another purpose, which is to meet the requirement of state law to adopt an initial bond resolution. Since projects included for a capital spending will be financed through general obligation bonds, the beginning clause of the adopted resolution reads, "Initial resolution determining to issue general obligation bonds of the metropolitan government of Nashville and Davidson County." This might be a good time to define general obligation bonds. Through various federal, state, and local laws, municipal governments, such as Metro, are authorized to issue general obligation debt. These are debts secured by the full faith and credit of the local government. The government pledges its tax revenues unconditionally to pay the interest and principal of the debt. At the time a CSP is adopted by resolution, Metro has pledged and obligated itself to pay any expenses associated with these projects that result in issuance of general obligation bonds. In addition, Tennessee law requires that Metro's annual operating budget include the revenue required to pay debt service, again, the pledge of necessary tax revenue. Once a capital spending plan has been adopted by council, a public notice is placed in a newspaper. Accounting records are updated for the approved budget for each project, notice is provided to the responsible departments, and projects may begin. At this point, financing of individual projects has not started, but the authority has been given to incur expenses. Metro uses its commercial paper program to initially fund project expenses. Commercial paper is often discussed, but let me explain what this program really is. State law authorizes the use of bond anticipation notes for project financing. These are short-term obligations used to raise the cash for project expenses. Metro's commercial paper program is our method of issuing bond anticipation notes. The program is established by council resolution and includes agreements with participating parties. The terms of the program are established in the resolution and are for a specified period of time. Each new or renewal agreement requires a new authorization. Commercial paper can only be used for expenses approved in a capital spending plan. There is no additional spending authorization by using commercial paper. The total amount that can be borrowed is first limited by the amount authorized for capital spending, and then by the maximum amount authorized for the commercial paper program. Metro Finance manages the issuance of these notes to ensure cash is available as project expenses are incurred. When available cash has been used, a new initial note is issued for the next few months of projected expenses. The notes have a short duration, and at maturity they are resold. This process continues until Metro issues bonds to pay off the outstanding notes. Commercial paper notes are not tied to individual capital spending plans or to single projects. As each project moves toward completion, its expenses are tracked individually. However, All projects use the same commercial paper funding source. From the time of the initial expense of projects through completion, commercial paper has been borrowed to cover costs. This can, and most of the time does, mean that multiple capital spending plans and projects are included in outstanding commercial paper. Timing of completion of capital projects can vary widely. For example, purchase of heavy equipment may be completed within months of approval, but a new facility that includes land acquisition, design, and construction could take several years. This illustrates how financing a single capital spending plan can take several years and borrowing only occurs as projects have expenses. When commercial paper capacity is reaching its maximum limit, the process to issue bonds begins. This will ultimately remove the debt from short-term to long-term financing. Once bonds are issued, the commercial paper notes are paid off. All the projects from any capital spending plan included in the outstanding commercial paper will be part of that bond issue. Bonds are generally issued with a final maturity of 20 years, resulting in annual debt service requirements for the length of the bond. At bond issuance, the interest rate and principal retirement schedule is determined. This schedule becomes the annual debt service requirements to pay off the bonds. The annual debt service requirements for a new bond issue is combined with debt service of all prior bond issues. Metro's total annual debt service requirement is the amount of principal and interest to be paid for all of the outstanding series of bonds. Remember that it all starts with the capital improvement budget and a capital spending plan. Commercial paper provides the short-term cash to pay project expenses, and bond issues become the long-term financing, and the annual debt service is the final step to pay for bond-funded capital projects. Thank you for listening, and I hope this has been helpful.